The cold Chicago wind screamed through the open window of the hotel room. Snow blew inside, landing on the dark wood floor and melting into small, dirty puddles. Joy stood in the middle of the room, shivering, her lungs burned. She pressed a white cloth to her mouth and coughed hard. When she pulled it away, there were tiny spots of red blood on the white fabric. She closed her eyes and swore under her breath. Damn it, not now. She looked at the open window. Her twin sister, Faith, was gone. Faith had climbed out onto the fire escape and run away into the freezing night, leaving behind nothing but a mess of makeup on the counter and the massive white wedding dress laying across the bed. Joy walked over to the bed. Her hands shook as she touched the expensive silk. Faith was supposed to marry Seo Joon-woo tonight. The marriage was a deal to save their father from a massive debt, but Faith always only cared about herself. Faith was scared, and so she ran. A heavy fist pounded on the thick wooden door. The sound made Joy jump. "Miss," a deep, rough voice called from the hall. "Mr. Seo is waiting. You have 5 minutes before I break this fucking door down." Joy's heart beat so fast it hurt her chest. Seo Joon-woo was not a man who liked to wait. He was a boss, an older man with more money and power than the mayor. People in the city whispered dark things about him. They said he was 50 years old, cold as ice, and completely crazy. They said his first 2 wives didn't just die from bad luck. Rumor was he killed them for looking at other men. If Joon-woo found out Faith had run away, he would send his men to hunt her down. They would drag her back and kill her. Joy grabbed the dress. It was heavy. She slipped it over her head, fighting the tight fabric. She and Faith looked exactly the same on the outside. They shared the same dark brown skin, the same dark eyes, and the same short curly hair. But inside, they were different. Faith was healthy and loud. Joy was sick and quiet. She had a lung disease that made her weak. She zipped up the back of the dress as best as she could. She put on the long white veil, letting it fall over her face to hide her scared eyes. "Time is up," the man outside yelled. The door handle started to twist. If you're enjoying this story so far, please take a second to leave a like on this video. It really helps the algorithm push more dark and gritty stories like this to your feed. We want to know our listeners, so drop a comment and tell us where you are watching from today. And listen to me right now. If you don't hit that subscribe button for Afro-Korean Love FM, you might be the reason Joy faces Seo Joon-woo's deadly wrath all by herself. Don't let him find out she is a fake. Don't let her die in this freezing city. Subscribe now to keep her alive and help her survive the night. Joy reached out and pulled the door open just as the big man raised his boot to kick it. The guard stopped. He was a huge Korean man in a sharp black suit. He had a scar going down the side of his neck. He looked at her up and down, his eyes hard and mean. "You took your sweet time," the guard said. "I had to get ready," Joy said. She tried to make her voice sound strong and loud, just like Faith, but it came out a little shaky. She cleared her throat and pushed her shoulders back. "Where is he?" "Follow me," the guard grunted. He turned around and started walking down the long, empty hotel hallway. Joy followed him. The heavy dress dragged on the rich red carpet. Her chest felt tight. Every breath she took felt like breathing in cold needles. She tried to breathe through her nose to keep from coughing. If she coughed, they might know something was wrong. Faith was never sick. Faith never coughed blood. The guard led her past the elevators and toward the heavy double doors of the penthouse suite. This was not the ballroom. There were no guests here. There was no music. The guard pushed the double doors open and stepped inside. "Sir, she is here." Joy walked into the room. It was huge. One whole wall was made of glass, looking out over the dark, snowy city of Chicago. A fire burned in a big stone fireplace on the other side of the room. The air smelled like rich wood, expensive cigars, and strong alcohol. And sitting in a dark leather chair by the fire was Seo Joon-woo. He did not stand up when she walked in. He just slowly turned his head to look at her. Joy felt her stomach drop to the floor. He was older, yes. There were thick lines of gray in his black hair, but he was also deeply handsome, with sharp cheekbones and dark, dangerous eyes that seemed to look right through her soul. He wore a dark blue suit that fit his broad shoulders perfectly. He held a short glass of brown liquid in one hand. "Close the door, Cho," Joon-woo said. His voice was deep, slow, and rough. It sounded like rocks grinding together. The guard stepped out and pulled the heavy doors shut behind him. The loud click of the lock made Joy flinch. She was trapped. She was alone in a room with a man who was rumored to be a killer. Joon-woo took a slow sip of his drink. He did not say a word for a long time. The silence in the room was heavy. The only sound was the crackle of the fire and the wind hitting the glass outside. Joy stood near the door, keeping her head down a little so the veil would cover her face. Her chest burned worse now. The smoke from his cigar mixed with the smell of the fire, and it tickled the back of her throat. She bit the inside of her cheek hard, tasting copper, just to stop the cough. "Come here," Joon-woo said. He didn't yell, but the command was absolute. Joy slowly walked across the room. Her legs felt like jelly. She stopped a few feet away from his chair. "Closer," he said. She took 2 more steps until she was standing right in front of him. Joon-woo set his glass down on a small table. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. He looked up at her face behind the thin white veil. "You made my men wait. I do not like waiting." "I was fixing my dress," Joy lied. She forced herself to look right into his dark eyes. Faith would not look away. Faith was stubborn. A bride needs to look perfect. Joon-woo laughed, but it was a cold, dry sound. There was no joy in it. "Perfect. Right. Tell me something, Faith. Do you think this is a real wedding?" Joy swallowed hard. Her throat was painfully dry. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we are not going down to the ballroom. There is no priest tonight. There are no guests. Did your father not tell you?" Joon-woo stood up. He was much taller than she thought. He towered over her, blocking the light from the fire. He stepped into her personal space. She could feel the heat coming off his body. "My father told me you would marry me tonight," Joy said, keeping her voice as steady as she could. "He said the deal was done." "The deal is done," Joon-woo said. He reached out and grabbed the edge of her veil. His large hand brushed against her cheek. His skin was warm, but his touch made her shiver with fear. He slowly pulled the veil back over her head, exposing her face to the light. He stared at her for a long time. His dark eyes searched her face, looking at her lips, her nose, her eyes. Joy stopped breathing completely. Did he know? Could he tell? She had only met him once before, very briefly, when she stood quietly in the back of the room while Faith yelled at their father. "You look pale," Joon-woo finally said. "Are you scared of me?" "No," Joy lied. "Should I be?" Joon-woo smiled. It was a dangerous, sharp smile. "Yes, you should be. Your father sold you to me for $3 million. Do you understand what that means? It means I own you. You are my wife now, by law and by paper, which I already signed. You belong to me. If you try to run, I will find you. If you lie to me, I will know. And if you ever look at another man, I will put you in the ground." Joy's breath hitched. The pure threat in his voice was so real she could almost feel it choking her. He wasn't playing around. He meant every single word. "I understand," Joy whispered. "Speak up," he snapped, his voice suddenly loud and angry. "I don't like quiet women. Sit the fuck down on that sofa." Joy moved quickly. She hurried over to the dark leather sofa and sat down, her big dress spilling all over the cushions. The sudden movement made her chest spasm. The cough she had been holding back finally broke free. She covered her mouth with both hands and coughed. It was a wet, painful sound that ripped out of her throat. She couldn't stop. Her whole body shook as she hacked into her hands. Joon-woo frowned. He walked over and stood over her, looking down at her shaking body. "What is wrong with you?" he asked, his voice cold and suspicious. "Are you sick?" Joy quickly shook her head, still trying to catch her breath. "No," she gasped out. I just swallowed wrong, the smoke from the fire. It caught in my throat." Joon-woo narrowed his eyes. He didn't look like he believed her. He reached out and grabbed her chin with his strong fingers, forcing her to look up at him. His grip was tight, almost painful. "If you are going to be my wife," he said softly, staring right into her eyes, "you better not be weak. I have no use for a weak woman in my bed." Joy felt a tear slide down her cheek. Not from sadness, but from the raw pain in her chest and the terrifying reality of where she was. She was trapped in a room with a monster, playing a game she didn't know how to win, and if she made one wrong move, her sister would die, and so would she. "I am not weak," Joy said. She forced herself to glare at him, trying to channel her sister's angry spirit. "I am just fine." Joon-woo stared at her for a long second. Then, his thumb slowly wiped the tear off her cheek. "Good, because the night is just starting." Joon-woo stepped back from the sofa. He let his hand drop from her face. Joy kept her eyes on the floor, watching his expensive black leather shoes walk away. He went to a dark wood cabinet against the wall. He picked up a square glass bottle filled with brown liquor. He poured a small amount into a clean glass. The ice cubes made a sharp, clinking sound that echoed in the huge, quiet room. Joy pressed her hand flat against her chest. She forced her lungs to take a slow, shallow breath. Deep breaths made her cough, and she could not afford to cough again. The heavy wedding dress felt like a cage. The tight top dug into her ribs. She watched Joon-woo turn around. He held his own glass in his right hand and the new glass in his left. He walked back to her with slow, easy steps. He moved like a large cat, completely sure of himself and his space. He held the new glass out to her. "Drink this," he said. Joy stared at the amber liquid. Her doctors always told her to stay away from strong alcohol. It mixed badly with her daily pills. It made her heart race and her chest tight, but she was not Joy tonight. She was Faith, and Faith drank. Faith loved to drink until the sun came up. If she said no, he would wonder why. He might get angry. She reached out with a shaking hand and took the glass. Her cold fingers brushed against his warm skin. She pulled her hand back quickly, spilling a drop of the liquor on her thick white dress. "I said drink it," Joon-woo repeated. His voice was low and flat. It was not a request. Joy brought the glass to her lips. The smell of the alcohol was strong. It burned her nose. She closed her eyes and took a sip. Fire ran down her throat. It hit her stomach like a hot rock. She squeezed her eyes shut tighter, fighting the strong urge to hack and spit it out. Her eyes watered. She forced herself to swallow it all down and then opened her eyes. Joon-woo was watching her throat. He watched the way she swallowed. He took a sip of his own drink, never taking his dark eyes off her. He walked over to the leather chair opposite the sofa and sat down. He spread his long legs out, resting his arms on the sides of the chair. He looked completely relaxed, while Joy felt like a rabbit trapped in a cage with a wolf. "Your father owes me a lot of money, Faith," Joon-woo said. The way he said her sister's name made Joy's stomach twist. "He borrowed money he did not have. He wanted to build fancy apartments on the west side. He took my money, and he lost it all. He is a stupid, weak man." Joy gripped the glass in her hands. She had to act like her sister. Faith was loud. Faith always fought back. Joy lifted her chin and tried to put a mean look on her face. "He had bad luck," she said. Her voice still sounded a little too quiet, but she tried to make it sound hard. "The city changed the building rules. It was not his fault." Joon-woo laughed. It was a short, harsh sound. "Bad luck. That is what losers call their own mistakes. I do not believe in bad luck. I believe in choices. Your father made bad choices. And when a man takes my money and loses it, I usually take his life." Joy felt the blood drain from her face. The room suddenly felt freezing cold, even with the fire burning just a few feet away. She knew Joon-woo was dangerous, but hearing him talk about killing her father so casually made it real. "But he begged," Joon-woo went on. He swirled the brown liquid in his glass. "He cried on his knees like a child. He said he had nothing left to give me, nothing except a young, beautiful daughter." Joon-woo looked at her, his eyes moving slowly up and down her body in the big white dress. "So, tell me, why did you agree to this? You could have run away. I know you are a selfish girl. I know you do not care about your father." Joy froze. He knew Faith was selfish. He knew her reputation. She had to be careful. If she acted too sweet or too loyal, he would know she was faking. Faith would never sacrifice herself just out of pure love for their dad. "I like money," Joy lied. She forced herself to look right into his scary, dark eyes. "My father is broke. He has nothing left. You have a lot of money. You are the richest man in Chicago. I want a good life. I want to buy whatever I want." Joon-woo stared at her for a long time. The silence stretched out. The wind howled against the thick glass window, throwing tiny pieces of snow against the pane. Joy's heart hammered against her ribs. Did he believe her? Was it a good enough lie? Slowly, the corner of Joon-woo's mouth pulled up into a half-smile. "Greed," he said softly. "Good, greed I can understand. Greed is honest. A woman who wants money is easy to control. You just have to keep paying her." He finished his drink in one large swallow. He set the glass down hard on the wooden table. The loud thwack made Joy jump. Joon-woo stood up. He walked toward her. Joy pushed herself back into the sofa cushions, trying to get away from him, but there was nowhere to go. He stopped right in front of her knees. "Take off the dress," he ordered. Joy stopped breathing. Her hands gripped the empty glass so hard her knuckles turned white. "What?" she whispered. "Are you deaf?" Joon-woo asked. He sounded annoyed now. I said, take off the dress. It takes up the whole sofa. You look like a giant white cake. It is ridiculous. Take it off. We are going to eat. Joy felt a huge wave of relief wash over her. He just wanted her out of the bulky fabric so they could eat. He wasn't demanding anything else right now, but her hands still shook. She set the empty glass on the small table next to the sofa and stood up. The dress was incredibly heavy. She reached behind her back, trying to find the small metal zipper hidden in the thick white silk. Her fingers were clumsy. She grabbed the zipper, but it was stuck. She pulled on it, but it would not move. Joon-woo watched her struggle. He let out a heavy sigh, like she was a child wasting his time. He stepped behind her. Move your hands, he said. Joy quickly dropped her hands to her sides. She stood perfectly still. She could feel the heat radiating from his large body right behind her. She could smell the rich, spicy scent of his cologne mixed with the smoke of his cigar. His large hands brushed against her bare shoulders. His touch was rough. He grabbed the small zipper. You are shaking, he noted. His voice was right by her ear. It sent a cold shiver down her spine. I thought you said you were not scared of me. I am just cold, Joy lied quickly. The snow outside, the room is drafty. Joon-woo did not say anything to that. He pulled the zipper down slowly. The sound of the metal teeth pulling apart was terribly loud in the quiet room. He pulled it all the way down to her lower back. The heavy top of the dress loosened. Step out of it, he commanded. He turned around and walked away from her, heading toward a small wooden door on the far side of the huge room. Joy quickly pushed the heavy dress down past her hips. It fell to the floor in a massive puddle of white silk. Underneath, she was wearing a simple, thin white slip dress. It came down to her knees and had tiny straps over her shoulders. Without the heavy wedding gown, she felt completely naked. She crossed her arms over her chest, hugging herself. She kicked her feet out of the pile of white fabric and stood on the soft red carpet in her bare feet. Joon-woo opened the small wooden door. A man in a white server's uniform stood there, holding a silver cart. The smell of roasted meat and rich garlic suddenly filled the penthouse. Joon-woo nodded, and the server pushed the cart into the room. He wheeled it over to a small, round glass table that sat right next to the massive window looking out over the city. Sit, Joon-woo told her, pointing to one of the dark leather chairs at the small table. Joy hurried over and sat down. She kept her arms crossed. The server worked quickly and quietly. He did not look at Joy once. He placed a bright white plate in front of her. On it was a thick, perfectly cooked piece of steak, steaming hot potatoes, and bright green asparagus. He poured red wine into a tall crystal glass for Joon-woo and poured cold water into a glass for Joy. Then, the server bowed to Joon-woo, pushed the empty cart back out the door, and closed it with a soft click. They were alone again. Joon-woo sat down in the chair across from her. He picked up his heavy silver knife and fork. He started to cut his meat with slow, perfectly controlled movements. Joy just looked at her plate. Her stomach was tied in tight knots. The smell of the rich food made her feel slightly sick. She picked up her fork just to have something in her hands, but she did not take a bite. Eat, Joon-woo said without looking up from his plate. I am not very hungry, Joy said softly. Joon-woo stopped cutting his meat. He looked up at her. His eyes were completely black in the dim light of the room. I paid a lot of money for this food, and I paid $3 million for you. When I tell you to eat, you eat. Joy quickly stabbed a small piece of potato with her fork and put it in her mouth. She chewed it fast and swallowed it whole. It tasted like ash. Joon-woo watched her for a second, then went back to cutting his steak. The only sound for a few minutes was the clinking of silver on expensive plates and the howling of the Chicago wind outside the thick glass. Joy took a sip of her cold water. It felt good on her raw throat. She looked out the window. The city lights looked like tiny, blurred stars through the falling snow. It looked so peaceful out there, but in here, it was a nightmare. You are wondering about the other two, Joon-woo said suddenly. His voice broke the silence like a gunshot. Joy jumped slightly. She dropped her fork onto her plate with a loud clatter. She looked at him, her heart beating fast again. The other two what? Joon-woo chewed his meat slowly. He swallowed. Then he took a drink of his dark red wine. My first two wives, he said calmly. Do not play dumb, Faith. You live in this city. You know the people your father deals with. I know what people say about me on the streets. Joy stared at him. She was terrified to breathe. She had heard the stories. Everyone had. They said his first wife was a beautiful model who got caught sleeping with his driver. They said Joon-woo tied her to a heavy block of cement and threw her off a boat into the middle of Lake Michigan. They said his second wife tried to steal money from his safe, and he poisoned her morning tea, watching her choke to death on the floor of this very penthouse. They say I am a monster, Joon-woo continued. He leaned back in his chair, wiping his mouth with a white cloth napkin. He looked right at her, his face completely blank. They say I killed them because they were bad wives. They say I am a crazy old man who likes blood. Joy swallowed hard, her throat clicked loudly in the quiet room. Are they right? She asked. The question slipped out before she could stop it. It was a stupid, dangerous question. Faith would have asked it, but Joy immediately regretted it. Joon-woo did not look angry. He actually smiled. But it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator looking at its trapped dinner. Let me tell you the truth, Faith, Joon-woo said softly, leaning his arms on the glass table. So we have absolutely no secrets between us on our wedding night. Joon-woo picked up his silver knife again. He sliced a small, red piece of meat. He did not look like a crazy killer. He looked like a normal, rich man eating dinner. But the words coming out of his mouth made Joy's blood run completely cold. People talk too much, Joon-woo said in a low voice. They say I killed my first wife, Alina, because she slept with my driver. They say I threw her in the lake. He put the meat in his mouth and chewed it slowly. He swallowed. They are only half right. Joy gripped her glass of water. Which half? She asked, her voice shook. Joon-woo looked at her, his dark eyes locked onto hers. She did sleep with my driver, but I do not care about who a woman sleeps with, Faith. Sex is just sex. I care about loyalty. My driver was a rat. He worked for a Russian gang on the south side. Alina slept with him, and while he was in her bed, she told him the codes to my private safes. She gave him the names of my shipping boats. Joy felt sick to her stomach. She stared at him, unable to look away. She sold my secrets, Joon-woo continued. His tone was perfectly flat. He wasn't angry, he was just stating facts. She put my business in danger. She put my men in danger. So, yes, I tied heavy chains around her legs and the driver's legs. I put them on my private boat. I drove them out to the middle of the lake in the dead of night, and I pushed them into the freezing water. I watched them sink. The wind outside howled louder, hitting the thick glass window with a heavy blast of snow. Joy shivered. The way he said it, so calmly, was worse than if he had yelled. He didn't feel bad about it at all. What about the second one? Joy asked. She didn't want to know, she wanted to cover her ears. But she had to keep playing the part. Faith was nosy. Faith would want to know. Ah, Jae-yoon, Joon-woo said softly. A dark shadow passed over his face. He picked up his wine glass and took a long drink. She was a smart girl, too smart. People say she tried to steal cash from me and I poisoned her tea. Again, they are only half right. Joy waited. She forgot to breathe. She didn't try to steal cash, Joon-woo said. He set the wine glass down. She tried to steal everything. She wanted to take over my whole operation. She made deals with my enemies behind my back. She planned to kill me and take my chair. One morning, we were sitting right here, at this exact table. Joy looked down at the glass table. Suddenly, she wanted to pull her hands away from it. She made me a cup of green tea, Joon-woo said. She smiled at me. She told me she loved me, but I already knew about her plans. My men had caught one of her friends the night before. So, when she went to the bathroom to fix her hair, I switched our cups. He leaned closer to Joy. I sat right here and watched her drink her own poison. I watched her choke on the floor. I watched the light leave her eyes. I didn't help her. I just finished my breakfast. Joy pushed her chair back a little. The metal legs scraped loudly against the dark wood floor. She couldn't help it. Her body just wanted to get away from him. So, you see, Faith, Joon-woo said. He leaned back in his chair again, looking completely relaxed. I do not kill women because I am crazy. I do not kill them for looking at other men. I kill them for breaking their loyalty. I kill them when they try to cross me. He picked up his fork and pointed it right at her chest. I bought you, he said. Your father owed me his life and he gave me you instead. You are mine now. As long as you play your part, as long as you do not lie to me, and as long as you never try to betray my business, you will have a very long, very rich life. You can buy all the expensive shoes and bags you want. You can drink my best wine, but if you ever lie to me, if you ever try to play games with me. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. The threat hung heavily in the air, choking the oxygen out of the room. I understand, Joy whispered. Her throat felt completely raw. Good, Joon-woo said. He smiled again. It was a cold, empty smile. Now, eat your dinner, you are still too skinny. Joy forced herself to cut a piece of the steak. Her hands were shaking so badly that the knife clattered against the white plate. She picked up the meat and put it in her mouth. She chewed it, but she couldn't taste anything. Her mind was racing. She was dead. She was completely dead. She was sitting here lying to the most dangerous man in Chicago. He just said he killed people for lying. If he found out she wasn't Faith, he wouldn't just kill her. He would hunt down her sister, and he would probably kill their father too. She had to keep the secret. She had to survive the night, somehow, and figure out a way to escape tomorrow. But her body was failing her. The heavy stress and the pure fear were making her lungs tight. It felt like someone had tied a heavy, thick rope around her chest and was pulling it tight. Every breath was a struggle. She needed her medicine. She took pills every 4 hours to keep the fluid out of her lungs. Her small plastic pill bottle was hidden in the pocket of her jeans, which were stuffed inside her duffel bag, which her sister had taken when she climbed out the window. No, wait. Joy remembered. Before her sister ran away, Joy had put a few extra pills in a small tissue. She had hidden the tissue in the thick folds of the heavy white wedding dress. The dress was currently lying in a massive pile of silk on the floor by the sofa, right where she had stepped out of it. She needed those pills right now. The familiar tickle started in the back of her throat. It was the warning sign. If she didn't take the medicine, she was going to have a massive coughing fit. She would cough up blood. Faith never coughed up blood. Joy swallowed her bite of food. She put her fork down. I need to use the bathroom, she said. She tried to make her voice sound annoyed, like she was bored. Joon-woo looked up from his plate. He studied her face for a long second. He looked at her eyes, her pale cheeks, her shaking hands. We are eating, he said. I have to go, Joy said. She stood up before he could say no. I will be right back. The bathroom is through the bedroom, Joon-woo said. He pointed to a set of heavy black doors on the other side of the fire. Do not take too long. I won't, Joy said. She turned and started walking. Her bare feet moved quietly across the soft red rug. She kept her back straight. She held her breath to stop the cough from escaping. She walked past the dark leather sofa. She looked down. The massive white wedding dress was right there. She pretended to trip. She let out a small, fake gasp and dropped to her knees right next to the dress. What are you doing? Joon-woo's deep voice snapped from the table. I tripped, Joy called back, keeping her head down. My foot caught on the rug. Her hands moved super fast. She dug into the heavy layers of white silk. She felt the tight corset top. She felt the heavy lace. Come on, come on. Her fingers brushed against something soft. The tissue. She grabbed it and shoved it tight into her fist. She pushed herself up off the floor and kept walking. She pushed open the heavy black double doors and walked into the bedroom. The bedroom was huge. It had a massive king-sized bed with dark gray sheets. There were no windows in here, only thick black curtains. She didn't stop to look around. She rushed straight to the bathroom door, opened it, went inside, and locked it behind her. The bathroom was made of cold white marble. Joy ran to the sink and turned on the cold water. She leaned over the sink and let the cough out. It was a bad one. Her whole body shook. The sound bounced off the hard tile walls. She coughed so hard her stomach hurt. She grabbed a white towel and pressed it to her mouth. When she pulled it away, there was a bright, fresh streak of red blood on the white cotton. Shit, she whispered. Tears of pain and fear ran down her face. Damn it. She opened her fist. The small, crumpled tissue was there. She opened it up. There were 3 small white pills inside. She quickly popped 2 of them into her mouth. She leaned down and drank straight from the running faucet, swallowing the dry pills with a mouthful of cold water. She stood up and looked in the giant mirror. She looked terrible. Her dark brown skin looked gray and sick. Her eyes were wide and red. She was sweating. She grabbed a clean washcloth, ran it under the cold water, and pressed it to her face. She had to pull herself together. She had to go back out there and act like a selfish, healthy brat. Knock, knock, knock. The heavy pounding on the bathroom door made Joy jump out of her skin. She dropped the wet washcloth into the sink. Faith, Joon-woo's deep, angry voice came through the thick wood. Open the door. Joy's heart hammered against her ribs. I'm busy, she called out. Her voice sounded weak and scratchy. I heard you coughing, he said. He sounded closer now, like his face was right against the wood. It sounded like you were dying in there. Open the fucking door before I break the lock. I'm fine, Joy yelled back. She tried to sound mad. I just choked on some water. Give me a minute. I don't play games, Faith, Joon-woo said. The handle started to jiggle violently. Open it, now. Joy looked around in a panic. She grabbed the bloody towel and shoved it deep into the trash can under the sink, hiding it under some extra toilet paper. She grabbed the last white pill from the counter and shoved it in the pocket of her thin white slip dress. She wiped her face with the back of her hand, took a deep, painful breath, and unlocked the door. She pulled the door open and crossed her arms over her chest, trying to look angry. Joon-woo was standing right there. He filled the whole doorway. He wasn't holding his wine glass anymore. Both of his large hands were clenched into tight fists at his sides. He looked down at her. His dark eyes scanned her wet face, her red eyes, her messy hair. He did not look happy. What took you so long? He demanded. A girl needs privacy, Joy snapped. She tried to push past him to get back to the bedroom, but he didn't move an inch. He was like a solid brick wall. She bumped right into his hard chest and stepped back. Joon-woo reached out. His hand was as fast as a snake. He grabbed her left arm, right above the elbow. His grip was completely solid, hurting her skin. He pulled her closer to the bright bathroom light. You are sweating, he said slowly, staring hard at her face. You are pale, you are shaking, and you coughed loud enough to wake the dead. I told you I choked, Joy lied again. She tried to pull her arm away, but his grip was like iron. Let go of me, you're hurting me. Joon-woo did not let go. Instead, his eyes slowly moved down her body. He looked at the thin white slip dress. He looked at her stomach. He looked at the small pocket on the side of the dress. Joy's breath hitched. The small white pill she had hidden in the pocket was making a tiny, visible bump in the thin white fabric. Joon-woo let go of her arm. Before she could move, he reached down and shoved his hand right into her pocket. Hey, Joy yelled, slapping at his hands. What are you doing? Stop. He ignored her. He pulled his hand out of her pocket. Pinched between his big thumb and his finger was the single small white pill. The bathroom was completely silent. The sound of the running water in the sink seemed super loud. Joon-woo held the pill up to the light. He turned it around, looking at the small numbers printed on the side of it. His face was completely blank, but his eyes were dark and full of danger. I know a lot about drugs, Faith, Joon-woo said. His voice was dangerously quiet. I move tons of them through this city every single week. I know what party drugs look like. I know what painkillers look like. He looked down at her. This is not a party drug. This is prescription medication. Joy backed up until her back hit the cold marble wall. She had nowhere else to go. Give it back to me, she said. Her voice was just a small whisper. Joon-woo stepped completely into the bathroom. He kicked the door shut behind him. The loud click of the lock made Joy want to throw up. They were trapped in the small white room together. Faith runs 5 miles a day in the park, Joon-woo said slowly, stepping closer to her. Faith swims in her country club pool. Faith drinks tequila all night and never gets sick. My men have watched her for 2 weeks before this wedding. He stopped right in front of her. He raised his hand and pressed the small white pill right against her trembling lips. So why, Joon-woo whispered, his breath hitting her face, are you carrying a pill that is strictly used to treat late-stage lung failure? Joy stared cross-eyed at the small white pill pressed against her mouth. Her heart slammed against her ribs so hard she thought the bone might crack. She could smell the strong, spicy scent of Joon-woo's cologne mixed with the alcohol on his breath. His eyes were completely black, drilling into her brain, waiting for an answer. If she told the truth, she was dead. If she said she was Joy, he would know the real Faith ran away. He would kill her for the trick, and then he would send his dogs to hunt down her sister and her father. She had to think fast. Her brain spun in 100 different directions. They are not mine, Joy forced the words out. Her lips brushed against his rough thumb as she spoke. Joon-woo did not move his hand. Do not lie to me, Faith. I just pulled it out of your pocket. I am not lying, she said. She tried to make her voice sound angry, trying to push away the pure panic. "It is not for me, it is for my sister." Joon-woo slowly pulled his hand back. He lowered the pill, but he did not step away. The heavy frown on his face grew deeper. "Your sister? You do not have a sister. Your father only has one child. My men did a full background check on your family." "My father is a liar," Joy said. The words tasted bitter in her mouth, mostly because they were completely true. "He has 2 daughters, twins. My name is Faith. My sister's name is Joy." Joon-woo tilted his head a fraction of an inch. "A twin, and my men just missed a whole second person living in your house." "She does not go out," Joy explained quickly. Her chest burned with the need to cough again, but she swallowed the tickle down with pure fear. "She is sick. She has been sick since we were kids. Her lungs do not work right. My father is embarrassed by her. He wants everyone to think our family is perfect and healthy, so he hides her. He keeps her locked in a room at the back of the house. She never leaves. Your men never saw her because she does not exist to the rest of the world." It was the easiest lie to tell because almost all of it was real. Her father really did hate that she was sick. He really did keep her out of sight when his rich friends came over. The only lie was who was standing in this cold bathroom right now. Joon-woo stared at her. He looked at her eyes, searching for the lie. He was like a human lie detector. He watched the way her chest moved. He watched the sweat on her forehead. "If she is locked in a room," Joon-woo said slowly, "why do you have her medicine in your pocket at your wedding?" Joy swallowed hard. "Because I was supposed to pick up her refill from the pharmacy today. I got the pills, but then your stupid guards showed up at the hotel early. They dragged me here before I could give them to her." Joy lifted her chin, trying to channel Faith's selfish attitude. "If she misses her pills, she coughs up blood. If she dies, my dad will cry about it and blame me. I don't want to deal with his shit." The bathroom was dead silent. The only sound was the water dripping from the gold sink faucet. Joon-woo looked down at the white pill in his hand. He rolled it between his fingers. He seemed to be thinking. Joy held her breath. "Please, please believe it. Please let this work." Slowly, Joon-woo turned toward the toilet. He held his hand over the open bowl and opened his fingers. "No," Joy gasped, reaching out. The small white pill hit the water with a tiny splash. Joon-woo reached down and pushed the silver handle. The loud sound of the flush echoed off the marble walls, sucking the pill down into the dark pipes. Joy felt her knees go weak. That was her last pill. She had nothing else. She needed to take another dose in 4 hours or her lungs would start to fill with fluid. She stared at the swirling water, completely horrified. "Why did you care so much?" Joon-woo asked. His voice was right beside her ear. Joy snapped her head up. He was watching her reaction closely. "I told you," Joy said, stepping back until her spine hit the wall again. "I don't want my dad to yell at me. They cost a lot of money." "I will buy her a new bottle tomorrow," Joon-woo said flatly. "I do not want another person's dirty pills in my house, and I do not like secrets, Faith. If I find out you are lying to me about this hidden sister, I will rip your tongue out of your mouth. Do we understand each other?" "Yes," Joy whispered. "Good." Joon-woo grabbed her upper arm again. His grip was not as tight this time, but it was still a hard demand. "We are done in here. You have wasted enough of my time." He pulled her out of the bathroom. Joy stumbled on her bare feet as he dragged her across the thick bedroom rug. The bedroom was huge and very dark. The only light came from 2 small lamps on the sides of the massive bed. The bed had dark gray sheets and looked like a dark storm cloud sitting in the middle of the room. Joon-woo let go of her arm. He walked over to a heavy wooden dresser and opened the top drawer. He pulled out a dark black t-shirt. He started to unbutton his expensive blue suit jacket. "Get in the bed," he ordered. He did not look at her. He just threw his jacket onto a nearby chair and started pulling at the silk tie around his neck. Joy stood frozen in the middle of the room. Her whole body started to shake again. This was the part she had been dreading the most, the wedding night. She was wearing nothing but a thin white slip dress. She crossed her arms over her chest, hugging herself tight. I am not tired," she lied. Joon-woo stopped undoing his tie. He turned his head and looked at her. His dark eyes were cold. "I did not ask if you were tired. I told you to get in the bed. Take off that dress and get under the sheets." "Can I just sleep on the sofa?" Joy asked. Her voice cracked. "In the other room." Joon-woo let out a heavy, angry sigh. He pulled the tie all the way off and threw it on top of his jacket. He unbuttoned the top 3 buttons of his white dress shirt. "Are you a child, Faith? Do you not know what a marriage is?" "I know what it is," Joy said quickly. "But we just met, we had dinner, I just want to take it slow." "Slow," Joon-woo repeated. He actually laughed, but it was a harsh, mean sound. "You think this is a romance movie? You think I am going to hold your hand and ask you about your favorite color? I bought you to be my wife. A wife sleeps in her husband's bed. Now take the dress off, or I will rip it off you myself." He took a step toward her. Joy threw her hands up in front of her. Okay, I will do it." She backed up until the back of her legs hit the heavy mattress. Her hands grabbed the hem of the thin white slip. Her fingers shook so badly she could barely hold the fabric. She looked at Joon-woo. He was just standing there, watching her. He wanted to see her do it. He wanted to see her submit to him. She closed her eyes. She imagined she was somewhere else. She imagined she was safe in her own small bedroom, reading a book. She pulled the white slip over her head. The cool air of the bedroom hit her bare skin. She dropped the dress on the floor. She was wearing plain white underwear. She quickly scrambled backward onto the bed and pulled the heavy dark gray blanket up to her chin, hiding her body from his dark eyes. Joon-woo watched her hide. He didn't say anything. He just turned around and finished taking off his shirt. His back was incredibly wide. He had thick muscles across his shoulders, but what made Joy's breath catch in her throat were the scars. His back was covered in them. There were long, thick white lines that looked like knife cuts. There were 2 round, dark purple scars on his lower left side that looked exactly like bullet holes. He was a man who lived a violent life. He carried the proof right on his skin. He pulled the black t-shirt over his head, hiding the scars. He took off his suit pants, leaving him in just a pair of dark boxer shorts. He walked around to the other side of the bed. He reached out and clicked off the small lamp on his side. Then he reached out and clicked off the lamp on Joy's side. The room went completely pitch black. Joy lay flat on her back, completely stiff. She gripped the edge of the blanket so hard her fingers cramped. She felt the heavy mattress dip as Joon-woo climbed into the bed. He pulled the covers up. His large body was right next to hers. She could feel the heat radiating off him in the dark. "Turn over," his rough voice commanded in the dark. Joy's heart stopped. "What?" "Turn over, face the wall." Joy quickly rolled onto her side, facing away from him. She pulled her knees up to her chest, making herself as small as possible. She squeezed her eyes shut. She waited for him to touch her. She waited for his heavy hands to grab her. But he didn't. Instead, she felt him shift on the mattress. He rolled onto his back. He let out a long, slow breath. "I have to be up at 6 o'clock, Joon-woo said into the dark room. "My men will bring your clothes from the hotel tomorrow. Go to sleep." Joy blinked her eyes open in the dark. She stared at the wall. Was he serious? Was he just going to sleep? She waited for 10 minutes, then 20 minutes. She listened to the sound of his breathing. It got slower and deeper. He really was going to sleep. He didn't want to touch her tonight. A massive wave of relief washed over her. She let go of the blanket and let her hands rest on the soft sheets. But her relief did not last long. Deep down in her chest, the tickle started again. It was small at first, just a tiny itch in the back of her throat. She swallowed hard to make it go away. It didn't work. The itch traveled down into her lungs. It felt like tiny bubbles of water were filling up the empty spaces where air should be. She needed her medicine, the medicine that was currently floating in the sewer pipes under the building. Joy pressed her face into the soft pillow. She opened her mouth and took a tiny, shallow breath. Click! A very small wheezing sound came out of her chest. She clamped her hand over her mouth. She couldn't cough. If she coughed, she would wake him up. If she coughed up blood in his bed, he would turn on the lights. He would see it. He would know she wasn't Faith. Faith ran 5 miles a day. Faith didn't wheeze in the dark. She tried to hold her breath. Her face turned hot. The pressure in her chest built up like a balloon ready to pop. Her lungs screamed for air, but every time she let a tiny bit of air in, the urge to cough hit her like a hammer. The bed shifted behind her. Joon-woo moved. He rolled onto his side, facing her back. His large, heavy arms suddenly draped over her waist. His hand rested flat on her stomach, pinning her down to the mattress. Joy froze completely. She didn't dare move a single muscle. Joon-woo let out a deep sleep breath. His hot breath brushed against the back of her neck. He pulled her a little closer, pulling her back flush against his hard chest. He was holding her like a giant, dangerous teddy bear. And right against his arm, right under his heavy hand, Joy's chest began to rattle. The fluid was building fast. Without the pills, her bad lungs couldn't clear the liquid. The rattle was quiet, but she could feel the vibration in her ribs. And if she could feel it, Joon-woo could feel it too. She bit her own lips so hard she tasted blood. She fought the cough with everything she had. Tears leaked out of her eyes and soaked into the dark pillowcase. Rattle, rattle, wheeze. Joon-woo's hand suddenly went stiff against her stomach. His slow, deep breathing stopped. He was awake. Joon-woo's hand pressed harder against her stomach. The room was perfectly dark, but his deep voice cut through the silence like a sharp knife. "What is wrong with your chest?" he asked. His voice was thick with sleep, but it was already angry. Joy squeezed her eyes shut. She shook her head in the dark. She tried to say she was fine, but opening her mouth was a massive mistake. The air rushed in, hitting the thick fluid in her lungs. The cough exploded out of her before she could stop it. It was not a small, quiet cough. It was a violent, wet, tearing sound that ripped through the quiet bedroom. Joy threw herself forward, trying to get away from him. She rolled off the edge of the large mattress and hit the hard wood floor with a loud thud. Her knees banged against the ground. She wrapped both arms tight around her own stomach and hacked. It felt like someone was dragging broken glass up and down her throat. "Fuck," Joon-woo swore in the dark. The bed moved violently. The small lamp on his side of the bed clicked on, throwing a harsh yellow light across the room. Joy could not stop coughing. Her whole body shook hard with every gasp. She pressed her hands over her mouth, but it was too late. She felt the thick, warm liquid come up from her lungs. It coated her tongue. It leaked right through her fingers and dripped down onto the expensive white rug under the bed. She gasped for air, but there was no room in her lungs. She just sucked in more fluid, making her choke harder. Joon-woo walked around the end of the bed. His large bare feet stopped right in front of her. He did not ask if she was okay. He reached down, grabbed the back of her thin white slip, and pulled her up from the floor. He pulled her up so fast her head spun. He slammed her back against the nearest wall. "Look at me," he yelled. Joy forced her eyes open. Her vision was blurry from painful tears. She pulled her shaking hands away from her face. Her hands were covered in bright red blood. It dripped from her chin down to the front of her white dress, staining it a terrible dark red. Joon-woo stared at the blood. His dark eyes went wide for 1 second, then narrowed into angry slits. He looked from her bloody hands to her pale, sweating face. He heard the terrible, wet rattling sound coming from deep inside her chest every time she tried to pull air in. He remembered the small white pill he had flushed down the toilet just an hour ago. The pill for late-stage lung failure. "You are not Faith," he said. His voice was no longer yelling. It was a deadly, quiet whisper that was far more scary. "Faith is not sick. You are the hidden sister, the one locked in the back of the house." Joy tried to speak, but another sharp cough ripped out of her. She turned her head to the side and spit a mouthful of blood onto the shiny floor. She felt very dizzy. The edges of the room started to turn black. She was not getting enough oxygen to her brain. Joon-woo grabbed her jaw with his large hand. He forced her to look back at his face. His grip was tight and painful, but it kept her from falling down to the floor again. "Where is Faith?" he demanded. He stepped closer, pinning her to the wall with his massive, hot body. "Tell me right now, where is she?" She ran," Joy gasped out. Every word sent a sharp pain through her ribs. "She climbed out the window. She left me." Joon-woo's jaw locked. A dangerous fire burned in his dark eyes. He realized he had been completely tricked. The great Seo Joon-woo, the man who owned half the city, had been played by a weak, broke old man and 2 little girls. He squeezed her jaw tighter. "You took her place," he said. "You lied to my face. You sat at my table, drank my water, and looked me in the eyes while you lied. Do you know what I do to liars?" "I had to," Joy wheezed. She grabbed his thick wrist with her bloody hands, trying to pull his hand off her face, but he was like a solid stone statue. "If I told your men, they would kill her, my dad." "I do not care about your dad," Joon-woo roared. The sound of his raw anger was terrifying. It bounced off the bedroom walls. I care that I was made to look like a damn fool. I paid $3 million for a healthy, beautiful wife, not a sick, dying rat who bleeds on my floor. Joy's legs gave out completely. She stopped trying to stand. She just hung there, held up only by his tight grip on her face. Her chest heaved up and down. Rattle, rattle, rattle. The sound was getting louder and faster. She could not breathe. She was really going to die right here in this dark bedroom, far away from home, killed by her own broken body and the pure wrath of a monster. Please, Joy whispered, a tear mixed with the blood on her cheek. I need help. Joon-woo stared down at her. He watched her dark eyes roll back into her head a little. He watched the deep purple color start to take over her lips because she had no air. He could just let her die. It would be so easy. He could drop her on the floor, wait 10 minutes, and she would be gone forever. Then he could send his men to find Faith and his money. That would be the smart thing to do. That is what a cold boss would do. But he looked at the blood on her chin. He looked at the pure fear in her eyes. She had walked right into the lion's den to save a sister who did not even care about her. She was weak, yes, but she was brave, or she was just completely stupid. Joon-woo cursed loudly. He let go of her jaw. Joy hit the floor hard. She curled into a tight ball, holding her chest, gasping and crying loudly. Joon-woo turned around and walked to the small table next to the bed. He picked up his black cell phone. He hit one button and put the phone to his ear. He looked down at Joy on the floor while he waited. Cho, Joon-woo said into the phone, get the doctor up to the penthouse. Right now. Tell him to bring oxygen and medicine for lung failure. There was a short pause as the guard on the other end spoke. I do not care if he is asleep, Joon-woo snapped, his voice hard and mean. Wake him the fuck up. If he is not up here in 3 minutes, I will shoot him in the head myself and lock down the hotel. Nobody leaves. Put 10 men on the street. Find her sister. Find Faith. He hung up the phone and threw it hard onto the bed. He walked back over to Joy. She was shaking violently now. The cold air in the room was making the shock much worse. She was taking tiny, terrible breaths that sounded like a broken car engine. Joon-woo crouched down next to her. He did not touch her gently. He grabbed her shoulder and pulled her over onto her back. He took his black t-shirt from the floor and wiped the thick, wet blood off her mouth. Listen to me, he said, leaning over her face. You do not get to die. I own you now. You are my property, and I do not let my property break. It hurts, Joy cried. Her voice was barely a tiny squeak. I can't breathe. Keep your eyes open, he ordered. He slapped her cheek lightly to wake her up. Do not close your eyes. If you pass out, you will choke on your own blood. Look at me. Joy tried to focus on his face. He was a blurry, dark shape hanging over her. He was the man who wanted to kill her sister. He was the man who flushed her pills down the drain. He was the real reason she was dying. But right now, his deep voice was the only thing keeping her awake. Where did she go? Joon-woo asked. He kept the black shirt pressed hard to her mouth to catch the blood. Where did Faith run to? Joy shook her head slowly side to side. No. Tell me, he demanded, leaning closer. She left you here to die. She put you in my bed so she could run free. She is a selfish bitch. Why are you protecting her? She is my blood, Joy whispered, a fresh wave of tears falling from her eyes. I won't tell you. Joon-woo stared down at her stubborn, messy face. He felt a strange spark of respect for the sick girl bleeding on his floor. She was terrified of him. She was seconds away from passing out from pure pain, yet she still looked him in the eye and told him no. His first 2 wives had begged and cried and sold out their own friends when he backed them into a corner. But this girl just held her ground. Heavy footsteps pounded in the hallway outside the bedroom. The thick black doors flew open and hit the wall loudly. Cho, the big guard with the scar, ran into the room. Right behind him was an older man carrying a large black medical bag and a small green oxygen tank. Over here, Joon-woo barked. He stood up and backed away, giving the doctor room to work. The doctor dropped to his knees next to Joy. He took one look at her blue lips and the fresh blood on her shirt. He moved fast. He pulled a clear plastic oxygen mask out of his bag and attached it to a tube on the green tank. He turned a small silver knob. There was a loud hissing sound as the pure oxygen started to flow. He pressed the mask hard over Joy's mouth and nose. Breathe deep, miss, the doctor said quickly. Try to take slow breaths. Joy sucked the pure air into her burning lungs. It felt like cold water on a very hot fire. It did not fix the fluid blocking her airways, but it stopped the terrible black spots from dancing in her vision. She closed her eyes and focused on pulling the air in and pushing it out. The doctor dug into his black bag again. He pulled out a small glass bottle and a sharp needle. He filled the needle with clear liquid. He grabbed Joy's arm, tying a brown rubber band around her muscle. He tapped her dark skin until a blue vein popped up, and then he pushed the needle in. "This will dry up the fluid in her lungs fast, boss," the doctor said, looking up at Joon-woo with scared eyes. But she was very close. If we waited another 5 minutes, she would have drowned in there. Joon-woo did not say anything. He just watched the clear medicine go into her thin arm. He watched the doctor pull the needle out and put a small bandage over the bloody spot. "Will she live?" Joon-woo asked coldly. "Yes," the doctor nodded fast. "The medicine works fast. She needs rest. She needs to sit up so her lungs can drain. She should not lay flat in the bed." Joon-woo looked at Cho. "Help him pick her up. Put her in the chair by the window in the other room." Cho stepped forward. He reached down and scooped Joy off the floor easily. She felt like a small child in his massive arms. She kept her shaking hands over the plastic oxygen mask, breathing heavily as he carried her out of the bedroom and back into the large living room. He set her down carefully in the deep leather chair. The doctor followed them closely, bringing the heavy green tank and setting it on the floor next to her bare feet. Joon-woo stayed in the bedroom for a minute. He looked down at the terrible mess on his floor. There was a large, dark red stain on the white rug. There was a spray of blood on the wall. He picked up his black t-shirt. It was totally soaked. He threw it in the metal trash can. He walked to his dresser, put on a clean white shirt, and buttoned it up slowly. His mind was working very fast. He walked out to the living room. Joy was sitting deep in the leather chair. Her eyes were closed. The loud hissing of the oxygen mask filled the huge room. The scary blue color was slowly leaving her lips, replaced by a pale, sick white. The doctor was taking her pulse with 2 fingers on her wrist. "Get out," Joon-woo told the doctor and the guard. "Sir, I should stay to monitor her heart," the doctor said nervously. "I said get out," Joon-woo repeated. His voice was completely flat, leaving absolutely no room for argument. The doctor quickly packed his bag. He bowed his head. Cho opened the heavy double doors, and both men practically ran out of the penthouse. The doors clicked shut loudly, leaving Joon-woo and Joy completely alone once again. Joon-woo walked over to the chair. He stood over her. He watched her chest slowly rise and fall. The awful rattling sound was gone. The medicine was working like magic. Joy slowly opened her eyes. She looked up at him through the clear plastic mask. She looked exhausted. She looked broken. "Take the mask off," Joon-woo said. Joy slowly lifted her trembling hand. She pulled the tight elastic string over her head and let the mask drop to her lap. She took a breath of the regular room air. It hurt a little bit, but she did not cough. She looked away from him, staring at the dead ashes in the fireplace across the room. "My men are looking for Faith," Joon-woo said, crossing his arms over his broad chest. "They have a picture of her face. They are checking the train stations. They are checking the bus stops. They are checking the airport. They will find her. She cannot hide from me in this huge city." Joy squeezed her eyes shut. A fresh tear fell down her face. "Please don't kill her." "She stole my money, Joy," he said. It was the exact first time he used her real name. Hearing it from his lips made her shiver. "She stole from me. That is a crime that only has one single punishment." "I will pay you back," Joy blurted out. She looked back up at him. Her eyes begged him. "I will work. I will do whatever you want. Just let her go." Joon-woo let out a sharp, mocking laugh. "You will pay me back? $3 million? You do not even have enough money to buy your own medicine. You are wearing my clothes. You are sitting in my chair. You have absolutely nothing to offer me." "I am your wife," Joy said. The words tasted like dirt, but she forced them out loud. "You have the papers. You said you signed them. That means I am legally yours. You can use me for whatever you need. Keep me here. Use me to get back at my dad. But let Faith live." Joon-woo went perfectly still. He stared at her, thinking hard about her words. The large room fell into a heavy, dead silence, broken only by the whistling wind outside the thick glass. He took a slow step closer and leaned down until his face was inches from hers. He grabbed the thick arms of the leather chair, trapping her in. "You want to play the wife?" he whispered. His voice was rough and dark. "You want to take her place completely?" "Yes," Joy said. Her voice shook badly, but she didn't look away from his scary eyes. "Fine," Joon-woo said. A slow, cruel smile crept onto his handsome face. "But if you are going to be my wife, Joy, there are new rules. First, you will never lie to me again. If you lie, I will kill your sister. Second, you will stay in this penthouse. You will not leave without my permission. If you try to run, I will kill your sister. Third, when I tell you to get in my bed, you do not cry, you do not complain. Do you understand me?" Joy felt completely sick to her stomach, but she nodded her head fast. "I understand." "Say it," he demanded loudly. "I understand, sir," she whispered. Joon-woo reached out and ran his rough thumb over her bottom lip, wiping away a tiny smear of dried blood. His touch was terrifyingly soft after everything that had just happened tonight. "Good girl," he said. He stood back up straight. "Go to sleep, little wife. Tomorrow, your real punishment begins."